Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to my in-depth look at this month's full moon. It's in Gemini, it's on December the 15th, and it's at 23 degrees and 52 minutes. Now, one of the things that I just want to say at the beginning is that this is rather interesting because it's conjunct or nearly conjunct what's known as the galactic center. Now, my understanding and sense of the galactic center, which is in Sagittarius, because you see, the full moon is in Gemini, opposite, of course, where the sun is in Sagittarius. So what this kind of implies, the galactic center for me is like a kind of a vacuum that breathes, as if it breathes in and out, almost like a lung, a sort of lung that belongs to the cosmos. And it sucks in all the negative energy and then it pushes out all the kind of positive energy. Now, the fact that the full moon is opposite the sun conjunct the galactic center seems to imply to me, because also you see Neptune in Pisces has just gone direct and it makes a T-square with the sun in Sagittarius and the moon in Gemini. Neptune is all about intuition, psychic phenomena. It can also be illusion and confusion and dissolution, contamination even. Yes, I know it's a square, but you know what has come to me is the first thing I've thought of as I looked at my kind of notes when I started doing this video, is that this is about new information being brought through into the cosmos, towards our particular solar system. The moon is in Gemini. Gemini is about information. It's about communication. It's about thinking, thought, ideas. It's also about social media. This is challenging information that comes to light that in some way I feel is directly linked with the energies coming through back into our galaxy, back into our solar system, directly from the galactic center. Now, at this point, so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about, because I get, you know what I'm like, I get so overexcited and I haven't got the chart up yet. So let's ask the wonderful Jerry, what would I do without him? He always reminds me slow and steady wins the race. So Jerry, shall we have the chart? I love doing that. So does he. So as you can see from this chart, the and the other thing, so many things with this full moon, but let me stay with one thing at a time. So the sun is in, if you look, the 12th house. Now this chart is set up for London Universal Time, so that's GMT. And with the sun in the 12th house, which of course by zodiac signs is the 12th house and a Pisces house, but in this chart it's a Sagittarius house, which is also about tuning into higher frequencies and energies. And the sun is like our beating heart, the soul of the solar system. It circulates our life force literally in our physical bodies. And I feel literally within the solar system and the galaxy. So with the sun being in Sagittarius, which, as I said, is ruled by Jupiter, that is really kind of making this, bringing in the spiritual aspect and the high energy frequencies of this particular full moon. Opposite the full moon in Gemini, the sign that rules communication, what's interesting is it's in the 6th house. Now, the 6th house, as you know, traditionally is the house of health and service. Service to others, service, you could even say, to oneself or to the planet or to the galaxy or to the solar system. I feel challenging energy is going to be made available to us. And I don't know how this energy or these ideas will come through, but it's as if the full moon, which of course is about closure and endings, is saying this is about the conclusion of an old way of thinking and looking at things. Now, if you just heard a loud bang, that's because it happens to be midday here in Gozo. And today, the December the 8th, which is when I'm videoing this full moon, is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. So it is a public holiday. And that means that there's celebrations everywhere because it's a feast. And I have to say, shortest pregnancy in history, I think. But anyway, that's another matter. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. So let's come back to this full moon. So the rising sign, as you can see, is Capricorn. Capricorn is steadfast. It gets towards its goal. So Capricorn energy takes very determined, kind of consistent steps towards its goal. There is new energy and thoughts and ideas being conveyed to us, maybe through meditation, through channeling, through our intuition, through our gut feeling. It's as if we just gave ourselves a bit of a detox, which I know many of you do from social media. Hear it? It's great, isn't it? And I'm not going back to the beginning and starting again. Let's just say those loud bangs are meant to be here and leave it at that. But what I'm sensing is that this really is important information that's coming through. And I think that if you do have guides that you talk to or star beings that you feel are around you that wish to channel energy through you, then ask what this new information is that is coming in through the galactic center. Because I think the full moon is saying the old way of doing things, the old way of thinking, the old way of service, the old way of serving others has to change. Our routines have to change. So, digital detox, social media detox, and also what it's saying, because it's in the 6th house, the full moon, it's going to be so much better for your health. So you may find that if you've been feeling quite frustrated lately, or down, or negative, or a bit kind of cut off, even cut off emotionally from your own feelings, that this full moon will actually shift some of that energy into a much more kind of pliable way, a more flexible way, because even though the ascendant and the descendant are cardinal, so they are proactive, the moon is in Gemini. The full moon is in a mutable sign, an air sign. This takes us up to these higher frequencies. And actually, I have to just mention that one of my viewers, and I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning your name, Anne Littman, but we've been having a little bit of a chat and about my other channel, Channeling with Sarah, God, I can't even remember the name of it, Channeling by Penny and Sarah. And if you haven't checked out this new channel, do check it out, because we have some really interesting topics that we discuss. And it is about channeling and we actually are bringing information through that has been channeled through Sarah and through myself. I wanted to keep it separate from this channel because this channel is about astrology primarily. But in the new year, in January, I'm going to have Sarah on my channel channeling, and do an interview with her so that you can all find out a little bit more about her and what she does and who she is and where she's from. And so that you can decide for yourself whether you'd like to pop over to our channel, Channeling by Penny and Sarah, and maybe subscribe and join a growing community that are watching our videos. But back to this full moon in Gemini, which interestingly supports, of course, the work I'm doing with Sarah. That's going to go on, isn't it? That banging, the fireworks, all through this video. Hey ho, we just have to kind of endure and work with it. Maybe because it's about celebration. It's celebrating the Immaculate Conception, that it's saying something about the energy of this full moon and about celebrating what is actually seems to be quite out of the ordinary and out of this world. Because, you know, if we think of the symbolism and the myth of the Immaculate Conception, it's a wonderful story and myth. And, you know, I don't want to sound as if I am taking away any of its energy and power of the archetypes represented by the Immaculate Conception for those of you that are Catholic or Christian, because that's not at all what I intend. Because my way of looking at spirituality is through a very wide and broad lens, so that I like to look at things and give everything credence, because every way we find to the divine for us is most probably the right way. But coming back to Anne Littman, because that's where I got interrupted, she was reminding me in her latest message that when we are connecting with, say, star beings or spirit guides, we have to make sure we are not talking to a lower form of energy like a trickster or a mischievous kind of energy that could take us down a timeline or a path that is not good for us. So try and be discerning. And I think this full moon really emphasizes the need for discernment with this kind of energy, and to really be super aware and self-critical and look for your evidence of whether this feels throughout your whole body as authentic sort of connection with the divine source of the universe, let's call it that. So that's the first thing I wanted to point out. Now, the second thing that is happening on the 15th, but a little bit later than when the moon turns full, and actually in universal time, GMT time, it goes full at 9:01 in the morning. So you need to take off for the west coast of America, that's 9 hours earlier. So for parts of America, this full moon is actually happening on the 30th of, no, it's not. I'm talking rubbish. That's something else I'm talking about. 15th of December. It's not. I'm thinking about another new moon and another full moon, because I've been looking at so many different charts, and I'm getting me charts all discombobulated. Let's come back to my notes, which are here in front of me, and stop going off at a tangent. Mercury, that rules this full moon because it rules Gemini. Now, Mercury turns direct. It stations direct today, the 15th. And so that is really significant energy that coexists or coincides with this full moon in Gemini. So for me, Mercury stationing direct also gives a go-ahead and a kind of heads up for thoughts, ideas that are coming in, and that now is the time to start initiating and launching them. So that's something else I'm picking up. Now, there are some tricky energies in this full moon, which we have to kind of look at, because Neptune in Pisces, which is of course now direct, is in this T-square. So it's a square to both the Sun in Sagittarius and the Moon in Gemini. Now, is this helpful or is this a hindrance? Because I think what it's saying is a little bit what I've just reported to you, that my friend Anne Lippman had messaged me about, saying, be clear, challenge this information that may come to you. Challenge it, look for the evidence. Don't take everything at face value. Make sure it is feeling authentic. Make sure it sits in you physically and feels okay. So I think Neptune is just saying, don't get carried away. And Neptune, of course, is in the second house, and it's conjunct the North Node in Aries. Now, that means also the North Node is also squaring, making a T-square, or a grand cross, you could say, with its South Node in Libra to the Sun and the Moon. So the North Node in Aries, as you know, is about our collective destiny. And on an individual level, it is also about your destiny, your path in life, what you would like to unfold from the energy of this particular full moon. Because full moons bring endings, closure, resolutions, confirmation. It can be something like that. It can be, that's what all this has been about. Then sometimes it's about the letting go of a way of thinking, a way of being that has not been serving us well. So this North Node is saying, it's in Aries, cut through the illusion, cut through the dissolution that Neptune can bring with kind of keeping us kind of foggy in our thinking and our mind. And the South Node up there in the 8th house in Libra, which is about our karma, what we bring in from past lives, or also what we bring in karmically that we have to make reparation for in our current life, is in Libra about harmony and balance. So it's asking us to make very balanced and careful assessments of where we find ourselves at the moment. And especially if we are or do feel we are receiving intuitive information that is there for guidance, and whether it's just personally for you or whether it is on a bigger scale, that's for you to discover. Now, Mercury, as I said, is going direct, but at the point of the full moon, in the 11th house, it's still retrograde. So it's kind of slowed right down, and it's ready for, as the moon moves off being full and starts to wane, okay, Mercury can come out from the shadows and move forwards. So this is super exciting, which means it will be moving forwards to ultimately come up and be conjunct the Sun in Sagittarius and conjunct the full moon degree. So it will also be in a direct kind of connection, conjunct the galactic center in Sagittarius, opening the doors for even more communication to come in. Because that ascendant is Capricorn, it's suggesting we are very mindful and careful and structured, and that we take our time about information that comes to us, and do not get carried away, because Neptune could make us get a little bit heady and head in the clouds and a little bit carried away with the thoughts that we're having, and kind of take us off down a kind of rabbit hole. So that's something else I wanted to talk about. So the other thing that we haven't looked at yet is, of course, Mars, because Mars is retrograde in Leo. And this retrograde is going to be with us until it comes out of its shadow in something like, I can't remember the exact date, but I don't think it comes out of its shadow zone in Leo until May 2025. It goes direct, I think, and I can't remember, but I think it's February, but I can't remember. So don't hold me to that, because I haven't got it in front of me. I'm just running around in circles. I'm just getting discombobulated with everything. And so I think it's the general energy around at the moment. It's kind of speeding everything up. And of course, you won't know this till this video is up, but of course, tonight, the day I'm recording this, which is the 8th of December, I will of course actually be doing my live week ahead tonight. And so that will, if you haven't watched it, because it will be up, all things being equal, why don't you go over there and have a look, because I might be less discombobulated. And also the week ahead lives are really good fun. And there's a lot of lively interaction with everybody. And we do have quite an interesting week ahead if you are watching this when this first comes up on your news feed. But Mars retrograde, we do have to talk about, because it's actually trining, interestingly, Mercury that is stationing direct. And so there's something here about assertive, dynamic conversations, because Mars is in the 7th house, with people who are significant in your life, significant others, be it partners, husbands, wives, whoever you live with, close friends, business partners. Something that has been held up, has been difficult to address, can now be addressed, and movement within the kind of thread of conversation can take place and move things forward. So that's actually really kind of important energy. And of course, Mars is still loosely in opposition, and will continue with its opposition to transformative Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And Mars will actually, in its retrograde phase, be in direct opposition with Pluto on January the 3rd. Now, I talk about that in my overview for 2024, and for my overview for 2024, which will be published 2025. You see, this is the energy of whatever's around today. I'll have to have a look at the chart before I finish this and see why I'm getting myself so discombobulated. But in my 2025 overview, which will be up before the end of December, I can't tell you exactly when, but all the individual zodiac signs I have also done. So remember to check not only your sun sign, but also your rising sign, also known as the ascendant. Some people also like to check their moon sign, and they will be up soon. And it was a massive project, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. So I really hope you will enjoy and get something valuable from them for next year. So Mars is going to be flirting with Pluto for quite some time. But I think in this instance, with this full moon, it's bringing up the energy of direct and assertive and thought-provoking dialogue, basically. So I feel this is really very helpful energy. Now we are now in what is going to be quite an ongoing energy over the next sort of year really and few months, is this square between Jupiter retrograde in Gemini and Saturn direct in Pisces. Now these two energies are like direct opposites. Jupiter expands, it's full of good fortune and luck and opportunity and those higher spiritual frequencies that we can connect to. Whereas Saturn is about contraction, containment, boundaries, slowing down, being a little bit austere, taking one's time. And in Pisces, Pisces makes it a little bit more difficult for it to get hold of some way of structuring the way forward. It's in the second house. This is about one's financial situation with this full moon. It's really kind of saying, you know, Jupiter in that fifth house of creativity, children, love affairs, Jupiter in Gemini, overthinking, over expanding everything, being just sort of over generous with everything, is saying, watch what you spend. Don't overspend. We're coming up to Christmas and, you know, everything comes at a price. And whatever you might overspend now is only going to come back and bite you in the bum in the new year, metaphorically speaking. So just watch out for this Jupiter-Saturn square, because it is going to be on and off. So when I am doing these readings and these lunations, I will highlight it, you know, especially the times when it's exact, because it's a tension. It's a kind of conflict of interests. It's almost, it's like when we have disagreements with ourselves and want to sort of just make things a little bit more flexible and easy, because of course Jupiter is in Gemini, which is mutable and air. Saturn is in Pisces, also mutable. So Jupiter is asking Saturn to be, come on, be a little bit more flexible with my purse strings. And it's in the sign of Pisces, water. Do you know, as I'm saying that, I've got this image in my head of when, you know, when you jump in the water into a swimming pool or the sea, and as you go down, you get all the bubbles making noises in your head. And so I've got that image of Saturn below the sort of waterline, really feeling the power of that, the pressure of the water, and Saturn resisting it and trying to kind of get some sense of it, trying to get a grip on the Neptunian energies that can, you know, sometimes make in the second house our finances drain away. Now, finally, before I bring this full moon in-depth look to a completion, I want to look at Uranus in the fourth house, because Uranus is retrograde in Taurus. It's in the fourth house, which is about the home. So this can indicate unexpected developments within the home or the family. And, you know, it's the home. So I'm just thinking about that Jupiter in Gemini and kids. You know, is somebody going to suddenly, are you going to suddenly say, I'm pregnant? I was talking about the Immaculate Conception earlier, so maybe there is a sense of birth and pregnancy around with this particular full moon, or the possibilities of conception. And it's interesting because if you look then up at the MC, which is the midheaven, which is out there in public, it's Scorpio. Now, Scorpio, of course, is fixed, and so is Taurus, fixed energy. And so Uranus, that is an air sign, but also fixed, because Uranus rules Aquarius, which, of course, is where Pluto is. So Uranus is an air planet in an Earth fixed sign. It's really struggled in this part of the sort of the zodiac for the last few years. And it's virtually it's bringing in the energy of the 10th house. And Scorpio on the midheaven is talking about what is revealed in the public domain. Now, this can be on a personal level, what you might need to be revealing to friends. Like Uranus, for instance, in the 4th house could be something to do with surprising people because you suddenly say, I'm moving, I'm selling up, or I've found somewhere else to rent and I'm moving. That can be something sudden that can happen. And with the full moon, completion, bringing something to an ending, but there's something about it that surprises people. So it's making it public and they're like, is this a good idea? Have you really thought this through? It's Scorpio. Scorpio likes to kind of go down deep and look at all the kind of nitty gritties of it. And have you really made the right decision here? And so there's that kind of energy around. Now, if we look at this on the world stage, then there could be surprises. Uranus is about shocks and surprises. Are we going to see more volcanic activity or more? Because Scorpio is about the underworld. So I'm thinking, I saw a headline a couple of days ago that in Alaska, there have been a lot of earthquakes underneath one of their major large volcanoes. And that if that causes an eruption, it would cause a lot of disruption to air travel in that area and maybe over parts of the rest of the world. So there is the potential with a full moon that one gets this kind of tug of energy, the gravity of the moon being that much closer to the earth, that can cause this kind of energy to the tectonic plates. And also, of course, we had a potentially what could have been a serious earthquake off the coast of North California. Thankfully, it did not cause anything serious because there were alarms and warnings of potential tsunamis. And so the earth is kind of shifting away underneath there. Is this also about world leaders? Because Scorpio on the midheaven can be what is going on with the people that are kind of governing us, our kings, our queens, our leaders, our prime ministers, our presidents. And is there going to be some shocking news about someone in a sort of potentially prominent position? I mean, funnily enough, the day I'm recording this, which is what it's brought it to mind, is about President Assad of Syria, who has fled the country overnight, which I find super interesting because this is kind of coming up. When I'm recording this, I'm a week away from the full moon, but all this week, whenever you find yourself watching this video, the energy for this full moon in Gemini will be building. So keep an eye on the news this week, on the world stage, and see what is unfolding. But the energy of full moons, it's a point in time. So it kind of sends ripples out into the cosmos and into those kind of frequencies and connections that we all have. And so the changes sometimes aren't instant and actually, or on the day or within a couple of weeks. Sometimes one can look back and look at, say, supposing something happened, I don't know, to another world leader. We could then look back and say, we look at their chart. Was this triggered by that full moon in Gemini? And that's how we can start to build up a really interesting picture of how to use astrology in a very constructive way as a guide, as a kind of timeline roadmap of the best way for us to move forward with our lives, use the energies in a constructive way so that we are not kind of victims of fate, but we are masters of our destiny. And on that profound word and statement, I'm going to get Jerry to remove the chart. Thank you, Jerry. Fantastic. And say thank you so much for joining me for this full moon in Gemini. And please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And remember, keep an eye out because my overview and 12 zodiac sign videos will be out before the end of December for 2025. And I had a great fun recording them all, and I really hope you enjoy watching them. So, and you know, go and check my other channel out. Also, I'm going to be doing a live stream with the lovely medium, conscious medium, Brandon Russ. We're doing a live stream on December the 20th, Friday, December the 20th, looking at the winter solstice and also looking at the kind of predictions or predictive astrology, looking ahead for the rest of this month and into next year. So that's always a very lively and controversial video that we tend to do, but it's always tremendous fun. So we'd love you to join us for that. So that'll be, I think it's 5 o'clock Central European time, which is 4 o'clock GMT, which is 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, 11, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and so on, going west. On that note, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I wish you a wonderful rest of the month, a very happy Christmas, and I'll be back before then anyway. And please have a really extraordinary and wonderful, thoughtful full moon in Gemini. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.